Hello and welcome to The Mill. I am your host, Dusty Crane, and this week we are talking about all of the new Tapestry news that has come out thanks to Jamey's design diaries. So let's go ahead and get right to it. On Sunday, Jamey posted a Sunday sit-down video, and he talked about all the different ways that a game can end, or at least highlighted some of them. I'm sure he didn't cover all of them, but he took that opportunity to talk about the way Tapestry ends. In this case, it ends after 5 income turns. Now, what is an income turn? Jamey also took this opportunity to, kind of go over that in his design diary. You start the game with, your civilization mat with a income mat and with a capital city map. The income map has 20 little sculpts on it, also by Ron Brown, and as you progress down some of the various tracks in the game, you unlock some of these income buildings and you move them from your income mat to your capital city map. And in doing so, you underneath those sculpts are different benefits that you gain by advancing your civilization. So when you take one of those 5 income turns, you actually are making more money as the game goes on, because as you're moving buildings off of your income mat, they are revealing more and more benefits that will benefit you come that income turn. So just to go over what that, we already know about what those advanced turns are, but the income turn is you would use your civilization card power, if any. Some of them are maybe game end benefits. Some of them are immediate or every time you do income. So you would use that opportunity to do that. The second one would be to play a tapestry card, which Jamey gets into in a future design diary. Upgrade any tech cards, also in another design diary, and gain income. And so it's that point when you would then see all of the income spots that have been revealed and take that benefit. That was Sunday. On Monday, Jamey actually talked about those tapestry cards. He mentions that there's 43 unique cards in the box, and they offer both or either or. They offer either a immediate benefit or a benefit over the course of an era. Now, era is the time that takes place between your income turns. So in your very first era, you don't have a tapestry card on the board. That's when you get your starting resources. It just says maker of fire or something like that is on that mat. And for subsequent turns, you can play these cards, and if you have a card that benefits you during this era, then for that time being between those income phases, you gain that benefit. And Jamey showed off a couple of those cards. One of them was that if you advance down a particular track, that maybe you're gaining victory points. Another one that I thought was kind of cool was, I think it was a marriage kind of idea where you pick another player and if they progress, and you pick a track, and if they progress down that track during that era, you also gain the benefit that they gain. And so I guess that's probably one of those core interactions that could maybe potentially you could use to either help yourself or kind of hold another player back. If another player is the type that just doesn't want you to gain any kind of benefit at all, then they may go ahead and ignore this track that they have been focusing heavily on. Or if they have competition, they may go ahead and decide to bring you along anyway. So I kind of liked the idea of those tapestry cards. So Jamey mentioned that it's not necessarily anything that you can plan with, because these tapestry cards are blind draws. There's just a deck. You have an opportunity to gain additional tapestry cards as you progress around the tracks. And so you will have a hand that's all to yourself. Other people, well, they're unique cards, so it's no one else is going to have the same card you do. But that was Monday, talking about tapestry cards. Tuesday, Jamey talked about exploration and the map. Now, the map itself is kind of cool because it's a double-sided map. And you have one side of the map if you're going to be doing 1 to 3 players, and another side of the map if you're going to be doing 4 or more players. And the map itself has some tiles that are already laid out. You'll have an area for your capital city. And there are 3 tiles, it says, that are adjacent that you can move out into. That one is a subject for, I think, Jamey's Saturday design diary, but that has not gone up yet. But in any case, when you explore, you have tiles in your hand that you can choose to put on the map in any fashion that you choose, except for they have to be adjacent to an area you already control. And depending on how you place these tiles down, if you match the kind of, terrain, then you gain a victory point. So these tiles have 6 sides. You could potentially gain 6 victory points, but depending on the way you line those up, you could potentially gain, 1, 2, 3, or more victory points, up to 6, as I mentioned. Also, some of these tiles actually have a benefit on them. So when you do the explore action by advancing down the exploration track, you would actually gain that benefit as well. And let's see here, got a couple notes here. But yeah, yes, this was actually one that I'm pretty excited about. If you progress far enough down the exploration track, you can actually get to space. You can actually draw tiles and explore space. Now, Jamey had mentioned that because space is it's a harder place to get to, the benefits are greater, so that's why they're further down the track. And we kind of see that progression through other tracks, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But that right there was Tuesday's design diary. On Wednesday, Jamey talked about the tech cards. Now, the tech cards are 33 unique tech cards that represent inventions in your society, and there are 3 face up at any given time, and then a deck of face down cards. So when you have the opportunity to draw one of these cards, you can either draw from the face up cards, or you can blind draw off the deck. Now, one of the things that's pretty cool, as Jamey mentioned, that these kind of represent a concept. They don't necessarily represent that you've made the invention. So when you play the tech card in the first place, you get nothing for it. It just goes next to your capital city map. You actually have some spaces for it. You see one that's like an X and then a circle and a square. And you start there at the bottom where there's X. You get no benefit. It kind of represents the inkling of an idea you have. And then the second spot, I guess, when you're doing the income, one of the options is upgrade a tech card. Well, now you can move that tech card up to the circle, and you gain that circle benefit that's on that card. So if you invent paper, then, or you have the idea for paper, then that invention goes a little bit further down the track. You gain that circle benefit, and then the final upgrade you can do to any of those tech cards is move it all the way up to the square. Now, the square is another one of those interaction opportunities with your neighbors, your player to your left or right, or yourself, because the squares have a requirement. So, for example, Jamey showed a Zeppelin, and to get the Zeppelin, you or a neighbor had to be at least tier 2 in exploration. So that also kind of represented the idea that if you haven't gotten there yourself, you have kind of observed your neighbors doing the same thing, and so that is an option for you as well, to go ahead and upgrade those tech cards. In Thursday's design diary, Jamey introduced the science track, and the science track contains a component that is a little bit controversial because it has a science die. It's a 12-sided die. I know some people don't like luck or chance in their civilization games, but it kind of represents science at that, like when they were first inventing things, how you might have, kind of had a wild idea for something and you were trying for this, but you ended up, making progress in this other area. And that is kind of what that science die represents. You see in the rule book example, there is a dice with an X over it, and there's a dice without an X. And what this represents, Jamey also showed pictures of the track, is the very first time that you get to roll that science dice, there's an X. So you might go ahead and advance in science, roll the dice, and that dice might come up with technology. And in which case you can go ahead and move up the technology track, but because that X is there, you don't gain the benefit. Now, if you further on down the track a little bit, there is a dice roll that does not have that X, and you might go ahead and progress in science and roll the dice, and because that X is not there, you roll the dice, and let's say you ended up on the tech track, you know, the dice showed tech, your tech advances too, and you also gain the benefit of moving up the tech track and buying any bonuses if you so choose. Now, these are optional. You may go ahead and roll the dice, and you get that in the board area that you're at itself says you can move, but you don't gain a benefit. You may actually want that benefit, so you can go ahead and say, well, I'm not going to progress on that track. That's optional. It's not forced on you. And then as you progress further down the science track, there's no more dice rolls. It represents that you have progressed beyond just, you know, kind of taking a shot in the dark, and you can just choose your track to advance down. And I thought that was really cool and thematic in that, you know, first you're just kind of, let's see what happens, and then you're very focused and you have a very, very good idea of what's going to happen. I like how that's represented in the gameplay. Friday was a guest post from Morten, and Morten from Team Automa kind of talked through how his development of the Automa really helped serve the multiplayer game too, because he just details his process where he has these Automas and they're doing what they're doing, but also he's playing the game too, and the way he's taking notes, and he might, you know, progress forward one or two turns, and he meticulous notes, go back one or two turns, see what resulted, and then go ahead and reset back those 2 turns, and then maybe take a different action, and maybe the Automa behaves a little bit different. But he's using the Automa to look for bugs or strategy. Strategy, I guess, bugs that, you know, maybe someone could take an infinite turn or something somewhere that the game could possibly be broken. The Automa allows him to progress beyond that and really focus and reset, and things that would irritate other players that aren't into it, like Morten aren't into that, you know, really deep dive into the strategy or into what is going to happen next or what could possibly happen next, or, you know, just bug squashing. And so Morten was able to find things that benefited people that will never even pick up the Automa just by nature of the work that he does. And Morten also tosses in the little brag that he's probably the person that's played Tapestry the most in its final revision. And based on that blog post, I tend to believe him. As for Saturday's design diary, we do not have it available to me yet. Actually, Jamey, I think, was out of town last night, and so he said he would post it later this afternoon, which will be after me putting this video up. But he's going to be talking about the military track. BGG has been really good about posting a new thread every time one of these new design diaries comes out. So why don't you meet me over there? Let's go ahead and talk about the military track. Jamey mentions that there's a couple of custom dice in there, and we can find out what that's all about. And let's talk about next week on the mill. Normally I put these up on Saturdays. I'm going to actually do next week's The Mill on Thursday, because that is when I am able to show you Tapestry there over my shoulder. I'm going to go ahead and do an unboxing, show you everything that's in there, what it looks like right when you get your copy. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. So until next week, I will see you on BGG. If you want, leave me a comment here. Let me know what design diary has been the most exciting to you. Until then, take care of yourselves and also each other. Thanks for watching. Bye.
And welcome to the mill. I'm your host, Dusty Corey, and today we're going to be doing a video about Tapestry.
I thought it was Tapestry. Tapestry.
No, it's Tapestry.
Tapestry. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the mill. I'm your host, Dusty Crane, and today we are going to be talking about Tapestry.
Okay. We're done.